All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be getting into the Week 14 preview here for you guys, where we're talking about my favorite core plays, some value spots that we are getting, and just giving you guys the first look build here for the week. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I want to start with the running back position, guys. We are getting a bunch of interesting options as it currently sits right now. I do want to start out with Green Bay running back Josh Jacobs. So Josh Jacobs, in his first game back, ended up playing only 55% of his snaps. Okay, I say first game back as he missed one game, but he only played in 55% of the snaps. Still was able to get 18 opportunities in that game. So if he ends up playing a little bit more snaps in this game here against the Chicago Bears, which should end up being a pretty interesting game. You never know with the weather. That could lead to a little bit more of a run-heavy script, but at his price tag, he is certainly someone that stands out to me. Obviously, a little bit touchdown dependent. In the last game, obviously, Jordan Love ended up throwing for 4 touchdowns. I've been saying that was due to happen for quite some time. Ideally, we would see a little bit of a balancing act. Jordan Love throwing for 2 passing touchdowns. Josh Jacobs rushing for 1 touchdown there as well. I do think we're going to be trying to get to one of those 2 this week. Another player that I want to mention is running back Chase Brown. So, guys, Chase Brown definitely heavily involved over the last several weeks for the Cincinnati Bengals. The biggest question mark I had for him was what would happen with Samaje Perine being back. Well, we did see Chase Brown play basically 60% of the snaps last week. Now he ends up getting a very solid matchup here against the Buffalo Bills, and he is at a price tag where I do think he's very intriguing, especially if he's going to get a lot of those receptions out of the backfield once again. He is someone to me that would also benefit in the receiving game if T. Higgins is still out with that concussion. Obviously, Jamar Chase will be someone we talk about in just a second here as well. And then another player as well that we need to talk about snap-wise was Bucky Irving, returning for his first game in a long time, since week 4. Okay, he ended up having a very good game, guys. 54% of the snaps, which he actually ended up playing a little bit more than I was somewhat expecting based off of the coach speak that we got. And we see, guys, he ended up getting 19 total opportunities in that game. So let's just tack on, 10% more snaps. If we can get him to 64%, maybe we get him at 20 opportunities here in this very solid matchup against the Saints. That'd be very appealing. He did get 19 out of the 26 running back opportunities there for the Buccaneers. He was definitely someone that was missing out of their offense, and it was nice to see him look well and play well as well, for that matter. So all 3 of those are viable options. We do worry about their snaps. Same thing here with Devin Neal. So Neal was one of the players that I highlighted that I was just going out of my way to target value-wise so that we can afford to pay up for other plays elsewhere, which I would say somewhat ended up working out. I was actually really shocked at the little usage that he had in the receiving games. Did end up getting 5 DFS points there and did end up getting a lot of opportunities, 17 opportunities. Had you told me he was going to get that many opportunities at that price tag, I would have said, yes, that's exactly what we're looking for, and we would have taken 10 points. That was kind of the whole appeal of him as a play. So if we get news that Alvin Kamara is out again, he does become pretty interesting again. He ended up getting 81% of the snaps, which is what we were expecting as well at the running back position. Now, guys, let's go ahead and just get into a quick recap from last week as well. As I mentioned, Devin Neal ended up being a pretty solid week overall. We had Jacoby Brissett as a high exposure play. I did like the idea of getting to Josh Allen as well. Those were kind of the 2 easy pay-up plays. And then I did mention we were getting a lot of pretty solid value plays quarterback-wise and especially stacking-wise as well. The 3 that I called out were Tyler Shaw, Cam Ward, and CJ Stroud. Really, the only miss on the week in general were the Tennessee Titans plays. The players that we wanted to be on did get the playing time that we expected. DK and Ian Manor just wasn't there for them. I haven't watched the film just yet for that game. I would imagine it's because Cam Ward did not play all that well, just due to him not having that much time to throw the football. Again, I haven't looked at that just yet, but just based off of the targets that I saw, I'm like, geez, no one got the targets except for Gunnar Helm, who was fine. And then looking at some of the other stacks that we were on, guys, Justin Herbert did hit Johnson for a touchdown. That's cool. Stroud, we knew kind of to be on Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins, or Dalton Schultz. Heck, we could have been on all of them, although Stroud didn't necessarily go off. This one I was pretty proud of, guys. Tyler Shaw with Chris Olave, and I'm scoring touchdown. Devon Valet, who's one of my favorite values, and then Jawan Johnson as well. One other one that I could have done that the data did really like was Tyrod Taylor paired up with A.D. Mitchell, or it would have been John Mechie. And I bring that up because obviously Mitchell was one of the values that we were on this week. It kind of just felt like it'd be one of his games. Was on Mechie still as well. They both ended up getting a lot of the work that we kind of thought they would get, guys. They're both going to end up being pretty decent options on this slate as well. Both had like 90% of the snaps, 97% of the snaps for Mechie, 97% of the routes for Mitchell. We'll get into them more as a play, but that was pretty nice to see. And as you guys see, kind of good stuff here. Valet ended up doing pretty well. Now, don't get me wrong. It could have been better. Like last week was a week in which we kind of knew it would be a tough week. But we were able to put our best foot forward and come together with some pretty solid builds. Obviously, going HN, Neal, and Hall ended up being pretty beneficial there. Tight end wise, I do feel like we kind of nailed it. Obviously, you're trying to pay up for Trey McBride, or I really like the idea of punting to Gunnar Helm, as I clearly laid out to you guys. So overall, it ended up kind of being a week that you would have thought for that main slate, just with it being an ugly main slate. I was able to have a good week. Hopefully, you guys were able to as well. The biggest reason was on like Nico Collins scoring a touchdown. That ended up being a big benefit there. But let's go ahead and jump into kind of the rest of the running backs that we're looking at, and then we'll jump into the receivers there as well. So I do think we're probably going back to the well with Devon HN. He's probably going to be chalk. He probably should be chalk. Good matchup there against the Jets. Although the defense has been better recently, we just love the workload for Devon HN. We can basically lock in 20 opportunities, playing 75% of the snaps. Very appealing play for him. And then Breece Hall as well. I don't mind the matchup for him in the same game. Now, I don't know if I necessarily want to double stack this game. You know, we are playing in New York for this game. Maybe the weather ends up being a little bit bad. We'll have to check that out. But he used some of that, ended up getting 20 opportunities again for the second straight game. Ended up playing in 89% of the snaps. Had himself a very good game. I don't necessarily love the price tag, but he is certainly someone we're looking at. And then we do have James Cook in a very favorable matchup here, guys, going against the Cincinnati Bengals. He has been the workhorse for them, even though he's not always getting the workhorse snaps. The opportunities are there running back wise for him. 32 carries, 3 receptions for 33 yards. Monster game for him. I do think we want to be trying to pay up for him just because of that ceiling that he does possess. Now we go ahead and jump on into the receivers here for this slate. So receiver-wise, JSN, I do expect to bounce back, guys. Atlanta's been very defeatable recently through the passing game, so I think he's going to bounce back. Puka Nacua continues to deliver. He is definitely due for a touchdown, though. Hasn't had one in 3 games now. Devontae Adams obviously scoring 2. And then you also had both the running backs scoring a touchdown. Heck, look at the game total of this game, guys. 28-31. Had you told me that, I'd have been like, okay, yeah, Puka probably scored a touchdown. But I don't know if we necessarily need to get to either of those two in terms of priority. Priority-wise, it might be Jamar Chase if we get news that T. Higgins is again going to be out. Okay, last week we saw Chase basically play every single snap but one. Okay, he ended up with 14 targets, 173 air yards, right? I mean, that's just tough to avoid. Ended up getting 7 receptions for 100 yards. And yeah, I just think we would have to be looking at him as a play. Now, from there, we are getting a bunch of other receivers as well that I think we're going to be looking at due to their air yards last week. One of those receivers was Christian Watson, who, had it not been for a couple of missed DPI calls, probably would have had a bigger game as well. He ended up with 10 targets there, 4 receptions, 80 receiving yards. Probably could have had a touchdown as well that was not called for a penalty. The player was a little bit early. The defender was. It's like, overall, I'm fine with them not being calls. Just full disclosure there. Not complaining about the calls, but if you're a Christian Watson and the Packers watching that film, that's exactly what they're saying. It's like, man, he was so close to a big game. And he truly was. He was open a bunch. They were good balls. Again, the defender may be slightly early there. I'm fine with them not calling it. The point is, he ended up with 182 air yards, nearly had all those plays, ended up with 10 targets, guys, and gets a very good matchup here against the Chicago Bears. We are probably going to be trying to play Jordan Love as well. Christian Watson now, over the past 3 weeks, has been playing about 70% of the snaps, if not more, had an 80% route share. Like, we love that there from Christian Watson. So he's very appealing in that air yards regard as well. And then one other value play that I want to mention as well, guys, Devon Valet is going to be someone we're looking at this week as well. So he ended up with 93 air yards last week, guys. Ended up with 8 targets, caught all of them, 93 receiving yards as well. Very good game for him. Had the onside kick recovery as well for them, and then they choked it away at the end. But really not shocked to see him have a good game. He is someone that, you know, was kind of a standout last year as a rookie for the Denver Broncos. Ended up getting traded to the Saints. To me, it's always tough for a player to kind of come in and instantly make an impact for a team in a trade like that, like at the end of training camp. Now, it did take forever for him to get going, but he should firmly be in for the amount of snaps that he has seen. I mean, last week, guys, 87% of the snaps. That might be a little bit too high, but if he does end up getting that in this matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you were to tell me that we're going to get 7 targets out of him, at 3.7, sign me up for that. That looks like a very good opportunity for us as well. Now, I do want to go ahead and talk about some other plays that I kind of like their price tags here. Zay Flowers being one of them. Zay Flowers is someone that coming in off of a bad game, okay, had a touchdown called back, so could have ended up being a big game for him, but no, had that play called back, ended up playing basically every snap, had 7 targets, guys. Not a good game for him, but you would expect him to bounce back here in this game against Pittsburgh. I think he's someone we certainly should be looking at for GPPs, and then a cash play, maybe someone we worry a little bit about the upside, but it's going to be Chris Godwin. Again, I really like the price tag. We have Christian Watson at this price tag. We have Chris Godwin at this price tag. Very appealing here. Chris Godwin ended up getting 5 targets, 78 receiving yards, and 3 receptions. What we don't see here, guys, is that he dropped a touchdown. He should have had a touchdown. And if he's going to play, he played 63% of the snaps. He could end up playing more than that. Like, they kind of need to get him going. And I kind of think they're going to get Bucky Irvin going as well. Like, they just need to win. So I do expect Godwin to get some more work. And if he does, if he ends up playing 70% of the snaps, I feel like he ends up having a pretty high floor for us this week. And I'm probably going to be choosing between him or Watson in a lot of builds at this price tag. And ultimately, that could come down to which receiver ends up scoring a touchdown. Now, we are getting some other plays that I do need to call out for you guys as well. Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers is right in this price tag. That's very appealing as well. So they lost Parker Washington in that game. If he ends up being out in this game, that's going to be very appealing as well, because Jacoby Myers ended up playing 91% of the snaps. He ended up getting 6 targets for 6 receptions, 90 yards, and a touchdown. Okay, he has looked good for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gets a solid matchup there against the Colts. Now, yes, we worry about the consistency out of Trevor Lawrence, but overall, I think this ends up being a great spot for Jacoby Myers. Again, if Parker Washington's out, he's going to be very tough not to get to. I do feel like it's a toss, though, between Myers, Godwin, and Watson. In terms of upside, probably looking at Watson. In terms of safety, probably looking at Myers. But in terms of value, Chris Godwin being a little bit cheaper is appealing there as well. Pretty much a toss-up there, though. And then we need to talk about one other player in this pricing range as well, the player that went off late in the game, Terry McLaurin. And then we go ahead and get to Terry McLaurin. So he does draw a difficult matchup here going against the Minnesota Vikings. But he also just had a very difficult matchup against the Denver Broncos. Like, that was a matchup where we weren't targeting him. He did pretty well against the Chiefs as well. Another difficult matchup. But if he's going to be getting 14 targets at this price tag, guys, while playing 62% of the passing down plays, which I do think it's important to call out. Like, he was a little bit limited, only played in 50% of the snaps, but he ended up with 221 air yards last week. And so it is a tough matchup. We don't like the matchup, but overall, he is just simply too cheap as well. So we got 4 very viable options in that 5K range, but we also need to talk about those Jets receivers as well, guys. So John Mechie's still appealing to me, guys. He's priced up a little bit here, but 8 targets again last week, guys, 7 targets the previous week. Ended up playing 97% of the snaps, ended up with 46 air yards, 8 targets, as I mentioned, but ended up being more of the AD Mitchell game there instead, which talent-wise, I think everyone would say Mitchell is the better talent. The issue with him is just consistency. Like, I don't know, is calling him like a George Pickens, is that fair? Where you know the big play upside's there from him. You just need to see that consistency. Obviously, we're seeing that from Pickens in Dallas now, where we didn't see that every single week in Pittsburgh. I kind of feel like that's a fair comparison for Mitchell, not for Pickens. I'm not comparing Pickens to Mitchell. You guys get the point there. But he ended up with, now 6, 7, and 12 targets. Ended up having a big game because he wasn't making those dumb mistakes. Didn't play in every snap, but had 97% of the passing down plays, which obviously we like. He ended up with 182 air yards, and that is honestly a game that I'm perfectly happy to go ahead and chase. So we are getting plenty of pretty appealing plays this week at the receiver spot at all different pricing tiers. Then let's go ahead and jump into tight ends, guys. If we can pay up for Trey McBride, once again, I think that we should be doing that. From there, if we get news that Drake London is going to be out, once again, I do think Kyle Pitts ends up being a pretty appealing play for us. Pitts played in 91% of the snaps, had 8 targets, ended up getting 15.2 DFS points. He's priced a little bit too cheap. Again, if we get news that Drake London is once again going to be out, Juwan Johnson continues to be a very dominant pass catcher in this Saints offense, with all their other receivers being banged up. 9 targets last week, 7 targets the previous week, guys. He's certainly someone we should be looking at. Played in 79% of the passing down plays there as well. Love the 9 targets from him, but we can go a little bit lower and get to some other decent plays like Brendan Strange, basically the top pass catcher for Trevor Lawrence since he's been the quarterback, or since Brendan Strange has been his tight end. That continued last week, guys. 4 targets, but was able to score a touchdown. We have seen back-to-back weeks of over 10 DFS points. He's appealing, especially if you are maybe looking at Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback option. And we go ahead and go a little bit lower. Colby Parkinson, to me, stands out. Like, we're not going crazy with him, but at the same time, this price is surprising. 3.1, played in 67% of the snaps, had 5 targets. I think we should end up with a pretty decent floor, especially in this matchup here against Arizona, which is going to be an appealing matchup. And then 2 other tight ends as well, guys. 3 other tight ends. They're basically all sandwiched together. They're all basically the same to me. Darren Waller might have the highest ceiling. He actually could have ended up with a touchdown in that game, but ended up playing on 63% of the passing down plays, which obviously we like. Did end up getting 3 targets. Would like that number to be a little bit higher, but ended up with 6.7 DFS points. He's basically their number 2 pass catcher. It goes Waddle, then Waller, and then probably HN. So from there, we are getting Harold Fannin, who was a core play tight end. Well, the tight end I was going out of my way to target the most at the start of the week last week. Got off of him a little bit as the week progressed just due to weather. He did end up scoring a touchdown, though, which ended up making him a very viable option at his price tag last week. And then one last one, the player I ended up getting to a bunch because I punted a bunch, was Gunnar Helm, and he didn't get priced up enough. So he's priced at 2.9 still. Got 7 targets again last week, 8.3 DFS points. Ended up playing in 76% of the snaps. Just very appealing, guys. I don't really understand what's going on here. Feel comfortable getting to him there as well. Just value-wise, he makes sense to me, but I would rather get to Parkinson, who's $200 more. So from there, we go ahead and jump into the quarterbacks. You've heard me tease this play a decent amount. Jordan Love priced at 5.9. Obviously ended up looking extremely well there against the Detroit Lions. I've called out that he was due to have a game where he just throws for multiple touchdowns. It could easily end up being a Josh Jacobs game. Don't get me wrong, where Josh Jacobs is scoring the touchdowns. That being said, it's tough to deny how good Jordan Love has really looked this season. I know people that aren't watching the games are not going to come to that conclusion. That's on them. That's not on me. He should be able to go off against the Bears here. He should. The defense could get healthy, though. The Bears defense has been extremely banged up. As the season progresses, they should actually get better. The Chicago Bears, as their defense gets better. So that could end up happening. But as things currently sit, it's tough really not to love Jordan Love here this week at this price tag. He could also be getting back Jaden Reed this week, which would obviously make him a little bit more appealing as a player. But it's definitely more of a price tag play there as well for him. Because after that, I don't mind Josh Allen. His offensive line worries are, worrisome. Daniel Jones is priced up a little bit too much. We could easily go back to the well with Jacoby Brissett. I mean, I think we do, right? It's just been insane. He's been a wagon for us for the past month and a half now, where it doesn't even seem like he's correctly priced here. This game against the Rams could end up easily being a shootout, and I don't understand the pricing for him. Marvin Harrison Jr. was back last week, looking pretty good. Their running backs could be banged up. I don't know if they're going to get back Trey Benson or Imari Demercado back, so they might just end up throwing the football again. So weird price tag for him. And then from there, I don't necessarily like much. Like maybe we look at Tyrod Taylor, could stack him with maybe Mason Taylor and also Mitchell. Again, I don't mind that. Tyler Shaw has, casually been impressive, guys. He has. If you look at week 12, he could have easily had 2 separate rushing touchdowns in that game. They try to keep a sneak with him 2 separate times. He could have added 12 more DFS points. And if he even converts one of those, I think we're looking at him as a completely different quarterback. Seriously, he ended up playing fine. I kind of made a comparison to him of Bo Nix. It's probably a bad comparison, but they kind of remind me of each other, where as the season has progressed now for Shaw, I think he's looked better and better each week. Looked good in the second half. I should make that clear. Not the best at the start of the game, but very cheap. Very cheap. And you could easily get to Valet, Jawan Johnson as a stack, and I think that becomes pretty darn appealing there at a very, very cheap price tag. But that's the thing for me. I think the player pool quarterback-wise is much more condensed here. Jordan Love, Tyler Shaw are the 2 I'm looking at the most right now. So DST-wise, I'm just going to punt to the lowest price DST. That's not going to go negative, and I do think that could end up being the Raiders, guys. Here we have about 6.7 left over to close out our builds. Receiver-wise, I'll just get to Watson right now. Again, I'm kind of choosing between Watson, Godwin, or Jacoby Myers. Because we are going Jordan Love, we'll just go with Watson. Then we have 8.3 left over. Jamar Chase, feel kind of comfortable getting to that. So a pretty solid build here, guys, overall here for week 14. But let's go and see what the 9 to 5 lineup builder is telling us are going to be the top builds as well currently. And so the top lineup right now would be Shaw, Jacobs, Junkins, I'm okay with Junkins. I don't feel we necessarily need to get to him. It has been trying to do a lot of 2 tight end builds lately. Commanders DST, which I'm okay with, but it is doing a Valet and also Shaw stack, which I'm okay with. Jacoby Brissett in this one with Marvin Harrison. Don't hate that. Just kind of along the lines of what I was telling you guys for my thoughts. A little bit different though, which is perfectly fine at the start of the week. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Appreciate you being here. Good luck with all your lineups here for week 14. I'll see you guys on the Thursday night showdown video as well. If you guys are watching this after that, I'll catch you guys on either the core plays video or the 9 to 5 lineup builder video as well. That's going to do it though. Thanks for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.